Yeah. Hard. Yeah. Militant-minded general, 9 grip, the grip with blades and a pen that can sharpen your spine's tip. Level-headed, though my mind flips from side to side with an acrobat's experience. After I stick it, I'm lyric down a demon-possessed. Seems Jay's the best for the job with no code.
What's the word, y'all? It's KTR Podcast, No Roast Podcast. You are now live and direct with your boys, Cinko, Big Harv, and J-Bo himself for episode 39 of KTR's hashtag KTR. We are KTR, we're in the building, and we are Know the Ropes Podcast. And my brothers, how are y'all doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good too.
Big Harv.
Good Saturday. It's a good Saturday, you know.
That's right. It's a good Saturday. We're going to drop this episode on a Tuesday. And before we get started with this episode, be sure to do this one simple thing for us real quick before we get into it. Follow all social media platforms, KTR Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Know the Ropes Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Know the Ropes Podcast on all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. We are on everything. And don't forget to get your merch at prowrestlingtees.com/KTR Podcast. Cuban link got caught underneath the shirt. But yes, we are here. We are live. We are direct. We about to jump into it because y'all already know what we're going to talk about today. Y'all already know what we're going to discuss for today's episode. We've been preaching about this damn near all year for real.
Yep.
It just does not stop. It keeps on going. And that is your WWE World Wrestling Entertainment releases. Yes, we had more releases happen, and a few of them were pretty shocking. Again, wrestlers that you didn't think would be either released at all, released right now, or released period at the end of the day. Like, it's wild. You know, there's some reasons behind some releases due to either budget cuts, vaccination status, what else, just not being utilized within the company, etc. But still, it's wild that some of these people have been released. And we're gonna go into the first superstar that I'm speechless, because the thing about it, especially Big Harv, he really saw this coming and was speaking about it, and it wasn't a negative fashion. He was being honest, and it actually happened. The fact that Keith Lee got released from the WWE along with Mia Yim. So, Big Harv, I'm gonna let you speak on that first, because you definitely were the mouth and the reason behind. You think they were, hurting Keith Lee's image and status of the WWE. So go ahead and speak about that release real quick for us.
One positive that I get, well, several positives, but the main positive that I'm getting from Keith Lee leaving is that the damage is done. Like, they can't do any more damage to this man. Now he can work on rebuilding himself. I'm surprised only because they were still pushed, like they still had promos and vignettes and the Bearcat Lee, and they were still, he was still getting a good amount of push, even though he wasn't really on TV, and they still let him go. So that's the only part about it that makes it surprising. But yeah, man, he needed to go. Not any fault of his own, but he needed to go. He needed to get out of that company. They weren't doing anything for him at all. No favors. It was downhill from NXT. Once he debuted, got moved up, it was downhill from there. So at least he can do damage control and start revamping his image. And wherever he lands, he's going to be an asset. And he can build himself back up. Damage is done. Nightmare is over. He can continue on with his life.
J-Bo.
Well, talent relations definitely got a DJ Khaled mindset right now, because just another one after another one after another one. And I honestly thought that the releases were finished because they released so many superstars this year. but there was just more. I think that was the biggest shock. Yeah, so back to what Harv said, they kept him, they was pushing him, they had promos, they called him Bearcats, and they even finally gave him a new theme song that was somewhat better. Like it seemed like they was going to do something with him, but we all knew his health history. We knew where they was going with his career, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a main event, but it's going to be something. We knew that, but we had some type of faith that there was going to be something because he survived the releases. But when the rumors started coming out where there's going to be more releases, we cannot ignore that Keith Lee was a strong possibility, as Harv has already called out. And it came to pass. I did read an article this morning that WWE did offer to still give him any medical assistance if he needed it. I did see that, so if that's true, that's good on their part. But yeah, back to Harv's point, he is better off. Now he can go to an organization that's not going to throw Bearcat just to make him better, but to use him for what he really is, and that's a limitless in-ring athlete. So yeah, I can see it's kind of bittersweet that he didn't get the shine that he could have and honestly should have had, but I still see a positive role for him now.
All right, so with that, do you think what do you believe the main reason behind him being released was? Was it due to probably like his medical history? Think it was a budget cut situation, or just think that the talent relations people didn't know what to do with him?
I think it was a combination of all those.
Yeah, that's all.
They realized there was nothing they could really do with him. They realized that his health wasn't improving at the rate that they wanted it to, at the speed they wanted it to, and they wanted to cut their losses with the money they was paying him. He was hot ticket. He was hot ticket on the indies, and he was hot ticket when he moved when they got him. So of course they paid him a decent amount, and they figured they just cut their loss. I feel like it was a combination of all those things. They knew that they couldn't get that. They tried to get that Bearcat crap over, man, and I don't think that was connected with anybody. I think they knew that wasn't connected with anybody, and they just want to cut their losses.
Keith Lee came over to Raw hot, but he started losing matches kind of unnecessarily. So that first off already hurt him and hurt any momentum. Then after that, that's when he started having, the health problems. So that's an addition. And then plus, apparently WWE still trying to cut money somewhere. So that's another reason. Yeah, it's a combination of all three. I highly doubt there's one single thing or even a primary reason why, because each one could have precedence over the other if you look at it on paper. So yeah, it's a bunch of things.
Yep. So, and like I saw with that as well, it's really unfortunate that this had to happen to him, especially with the momentum he was building up, when he was in NXT and all the stuff that just led up to it with him, with the Survivor Series match they had when they had the Team Raw, Team SmackDown versus Team NXT, with his little showing they had at the Royal Rumble too as well. And also just built up when he won the NXT title and the North American title.
Very fast NXT run, but it was memorable and full of highlights. But yeah, they didn't know what to do with him. Like we always say when they move people up, like they have a lot of people, and most of them they've cut now. A lot of the people that they moved up and didn't know what to do with are gone. And these cuts they've been doing all year. So it's actually the trend.
It's really weird to me though, with how recently anybody bring up from NXT, they try to immediately change them. And I think that happened after who was probably the last people that got brought up and they just left them the same. I think after whoever came up with Bianca Belair, anybody after that, I feel like they try to immediately change the person who they were before NXT. And it kind of doesn't make sense because in my mind, like you brought them up for a reason from where they were in NXT. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Pretty much, just let them keep that same strong presence and following and personality that they had in NXT and just bring it over to the main roster. I don't see what the difference would be or how it would change anything. Yeah, that was just a little off to me. And speaking of changes, another person they tried to change who just got released too as well is Karrion Kross.
Yeah, but I called that one. I knew the second that he was brought up to Monday Night Raw, they barely gave him the entrance. They didn't even give him Scarlett. It was just a done deal. And then he ended up losing what was it, by roll up to Jeff Hardy, it was just downhill. I didn't see them be using him properly at all. Clearly,
it was weird how they invested. It was like they had half 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because they did give him a lot of shine. They put him on TV a lot, even when he was NXT champion. I didn't even see the point of him. He never really connected to me. He's had success in the past, different companies and everything. So I'm not saying he doesn't have it in order to get it done, but they did put a lot on him for them to just let him go that fast. Like none of these are surprising. It's more a shock of how it was done based on how they were being treated by the company. So he wasn't being treated as like some top guy, but he was still new and was getting some decent amount of exposure. And then they cut him loose. So it was surprising. It wasn't surprising, but it was like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Like they started pushing him out on TV for real. So I don't know.
My thing about what Karrion, well, my bad. What you saying, Trevor?
No, I was just gonna say Karrion Kross actually has the build that WWE is looking for. He got good height, he got the size, he got this ruthless aggression on him.
I think his age.
Yeah. Age clearly played a role in it. It just
How old is he?
30.
Yeah, late 30s.
Okay.
38.
That's what I was just about to touch on, J-Bo, too. Is like I felt like with Karrion Kross, he fit more of the mold with the main roster than he did with NXT. So I thought his transition to NXT to the main roster, it'll been better for him and benefit even more. And if they didn't want to like portray him as a main event type player already, with the whole interest that they gave him in NXT with Scarlett and everything, they didn't have to give like the whole slow entrance was smoking her. Like they could just alter it a little bit while still keeping her in the picture with the entrance, but just changing him to look like a gladiator, whatever, and just coming out there and just it's weird. Like I don't get it. It's like I felt like they just set them. They really set those two up for failure because like they brought them in knowing they weren't going to keep them, and they was like, you know what, let's throw this on him real quick, give people what they want for a second, and then we're gonna let them bounce.
Crazy.
So this is a continual learning experience. If we haven't learned anything from Karrion Kross coming up, Keith Lee coming up, them transitioning over to NXT 2.0, Adam Cole leaving before being drafted to Raw or SmackDown. If we have not learned anything, it's that NXT is not viewed as a brand. Period. No matter what success that they had, especially when AEW started having Wednesday night wars with NXT. If this shows anything, WWE, Vince, whoever, they do not view NXT as a brand. In my view, they look at NXT as literally like another FCW, another OVW. Because, like you said, you got these wrestlers who they're great. The crowd works with them. Their transition seems, like effortless. But you change them almost completely for what? No purpose. So the people that come up from NXT, we got to learn that. Look, it's a no-brainer because NXT, whatever you did in NXT means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The second you come into Raw, SmackDown, period. A perfect example is Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin was just literally just coasting through on NXT, but now he's still getting major TV time week after week after week. Elias, he's barely doing anything now, but even when he was in NXT, he was barely doing things, but he was on TV regularly, week after week after week. So NXT, if you great down there, if you wasn't great down there, it means nothing. Look at Aaliyah. She looked like she might get a decent push, but she was losing matches regularly with Robert Stone brand. So once again, I keep reiterating. Just if you came up from NXT, great, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, you got to fit that the cookie cutter shape that Vince and his folks have in mind. So it's even if they're using it as developmental, the character that they give you when you move up could be so far removed from what you're used to. But if you don't fit into it, you're not gonna last long.
Yeah, clearly.
Right. It's just like they're really just trying to humble the NXT. Well, I don't know if it's brand no more. They just really trying to humble people that are in NXT before they get to the main roster. Because at first, I mean, you can't lie. NXT beforehand was a brand. It was a whole ass brand.
Clearly,
with wrestlers on that card and roster that can really compete and beat people on the main roster easily, fair and square. And I think that's what they were trying to eliminate because they're like, okay, NXT at the end of the day is supposed to be a developmental brand. Like they said, we gotta put the fire out on y'all real quick because y'all getting a little bit too hot for your own liking and making. Because y'all really have superstars on that brand that were bigger than a lot of superstars in the main roster.
Yes.
Like, Undisputed Era when they were together, hot, bigger than a lot of people. They were definitely top 5 in the WWE. Easily.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely hot, bigger than everybody. Especially when we put him on a couple of main roster shows and he actually performed and did great.
NXT had the matches, they had the promos, they had the storyline. Heck, that what's his name? Cameron Grimes, his storyline was better than most, if not all, the storylines on the main roster this given year. They had, the wrestlers, obviously, they had the matches. When they had their takeover events, 4 out of 5, if not all, matches on the card was way better than whatever Raw or SmackDown was producing. Yeah, it wasn't just a brand, it was a better brand. It was a brand forward to. So I can keep going.
With Cameron Grimes, if they ever bring him up, please do not mess him up because he could be a wrestler of longevity. In no disrespect to him, and I'll say he could be one of the wrestlers that could be strong in the mid card for a very long time. And there's nothing really wrong with the mid card anyway, because he could have that 1 or 2 pushes in his whole career on the main roster. You know how they usually do it, like when the wrestler gets lucky, it gets to that point, or just breaks out the blue nowhere and earns the opportunity. He could do that, but Cameron Grimes is really that wrestler that is rare, that can be consistent as a mid card for a very long time, and you don't get bored of, like the status of like a Miz or damn near R-Truth for real. Like just like in between those 2 barriers right there, he really fits that mold. And so that's just an example. Yeah, what do you say, Big Harv? What you gonna speak on?
Oh, I was just talking about how, by comparison, when they would have the NXT takeovers one night and then the next night have a big WWE pay-per-view, it would make the main guys look terrible. It would make them look trash. The night before, the matches were like pristine, and they were not able to follow it consistently. So I mean, that's it was better. It was way better.
Takeover was definitely better than these WWE pay-per-views and things like that. And so it's just weird because and it's really messed up with the new dynamic that they're going at, is because people getting released of their age. Even if they're still can perform and they're top performers, it's for something like that, it really has to hurt for like some wrestlers whose goal and dream was possibly to get into WWE, but the fact that they're in their 30s, you're deemed as old, and you could just basically forget about any WWE dream because of what is put out there.
And Goldberg walk in and take a world title shot anytime he wishes. Yeah.
So it's really kind of messed up, and this is it's really contradicting because how old is Vince McMahon?
We gonna go there.
Yeah, we're going there. We're going there. How old is Vince McMahon?
70s. I know that. He's in his 70s.
Yeah,
he's in his 70s.
76.
76 years young.
76.
Oof.
But wants younger wrestlers to perform their duties and perform his craft that he wants.
That takes years to perfect for most guys.
Exactly. And no disrespect at all to the big boss man chairman of the World Wrestling Entertainment, but you're talking about doing some new stuff. You want some new blood in the business. Think about stepping aside from the chairman position and let somebody else run it that's younger. Since you want younger people in position doing stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Since age is an issue and a factor, apparently. I'm just saying.
No, that's a point. That's a
because Triple H was doing great things on NXT.
Yeah.
So like he could do great things, run the WWE possibly. That's all I'm saying.
Ain't no possibly. He got it. He know what he's doing. He been in the business a long. Triple H's been in business, what, 30 plus years now?
Yep.
And he has help. He got people like Shawn Michaels. He got Road Dogg with him, like people who are equally invested into the business and the sport of.
They understand the business, and they were popular at its most popular time in history. When wrestling was at its height of popularity, you have people who were there for that and know how to develop and adapt to those times. So why would you not want them to run the company for you?
All right. And also another thing, like what's wrong with pushing somebody that is, in their 30s, The thing about it, everybody really doesn't know how old they are unless they go look at Google and try to find their actual age. And think about it, these people on TV, they look good for their age. They in shape and everything. R-Truth is almost 50 and doing splits. This man is still hitting splits, doing raps and all this and wrestling, and he's still in the business. Jeff Hardy, 44 years old, still risking his body on the line doing work.
I know. The scary part here is if you look at NXT, you got guys like Roderick Strong. You got guys like Tommaso Ciampa. You got a new acquisition that's came this year or maybe last year a little bit. LA Knight that just came in. You got all these guys in NXT who are clearly not in the younger bracket. So like, what does the future spell out for them? Vince, they look at these older, quote unquote older guys, so pretty much 30 or older, as, hey, look, you're independent wrestlers, go to AEW. We just want these younger guys. But he doesn't realize that it's the younger wrestlers and even the older wrestlers that's going to be just as successful if you just use them. That's what AEW is doing. It's a great formula. It can work for kids, family, all that stuff. So it's a great formula. You just got to be willing to do it. And Triple H, Shawn Michaels, they are willing to do it, and it's worked. So,
I think the thing with them, because they actually know and watch wrestling, and that's what they want to bring to the brand. And the thing about with Vince possibly is he doesn't like the look of an independent circuit within the World Wrestling Entertainment. I don't think he likes the sight of a person like a Roderick Strong or Adam Cole being like a world champion, pretty much.
It needs to be separate from everything else. It needs to be the crown jewel of wrestling as a whole. So it can't fall into indie category. It has to be better than that.
That's the thing. He brings wrestlers in. It makes it. They can make it better.
Yeah, I mean, look at New Japan Pro Wrestling, for example. That is a prestigious company, multi-million-dollar organization, but they took indie wrestling and made it professional and made it entertaining, make it good. So somebody like Vince or the multi-billion-dollar company that WWE is, they can take this whole idea of independent wrestling and just make it professional. You don't have to just drop it in a category and just say, forget it. We just want the 20-year-old, 6'2", 255-pound bodybuilders who are stiff as rocks just trying to wrestle each other. You don't have to do that. Just make the adjustments.
Exactly. And the thing about that is it's really discouraging a lot of people who actually want to get into the business too as well, because everybody doesn't look like, everybody isn't 6'4". Everybody can't have a 6-pack or an 8-pack, everybody isn't chiseled, people want to see regular looking people on TV, and they think if they can do it, I can do it. Then that's how they're just going to build into it. Like somebody like a regular looking guy, like a Kevin Owens. You look at Kevin Owens on the street, dude, like what, just like roughly 6 feet, 6'1", and with a dad bod, respectfully, and can do anything and everything within the ring and possibly better than 90% of the roster. And can speak.
Yeah.
You don't get that. Y'all rather have something like that than the big chisel guy who can say 5 words and forget his lines later on the next line. That's just me.
I agree.
Yeah, but like I said, it is what it is with that. But like moving on for like another release that happened was Nia Jax, for instance. She got released.
Okay. not Nia, it was a surprise, but it also wasn't a surprise. To me, it was a mix. It wasn't a surprise because we all know Nia Jax has a history of being overly aggressive in the ring, hurting, injuring other wrestlers. So on that end, it's not surprising. But on the other end, let's be honest, we know her relation, we know her family connection, being with the Samoans, with The Rock, whatever. And typically, if you have such a strong connection like that, you're almost like Teflon Don. You're almost untouchable, and you can kind of get away with almost anything. So that was the shocker part. So I'm mixed on that release.
I feel about the same. I don't really think she was aggressive. She was just sloppy. That woman was sloppy in the ring, all right? But I read a report that she asked for more time off for mental health.
Yeah.
And that is ultimately what led to them letting her go. And from a business standpoint, that's both good and bad because you're supposed to care about the mental health of your employees. That's from everywhere down to Walmart. And this is a more physical, emotional type of work. So even though they had to make cuts and she wasn't really being useful by sitting at home, being a company the size of and that works really with families in the business, it's bad to me. That's some bad publicity for you to fire somebody for wanting more time for mental health. That's pretty ridiculous. So I understand for like money purposes, but at the same time, that's not one I would have risked, me personally. That just seems kind of like a HR issue. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm with Nia. I know I love Nia. It's sad.
We know.
I know more where the thickness gonna come in. Where is it? What are the juice that's worth the squeeze? What is it?
All right. Before we get carried away about Nia Jax, before we get canceled.
Hello, ladies. All right.
Yeah, but like I said, we had more other releases that did happen with Eva Marie, Grand Malik, Lindsay DeRio, Harry Smith, Scarlett.
Hold on, Eva Marie, dog.
Oh, you want to speak on that one? I'll try to slide past it real quick because I mean it was like it is what it is. But go ahead.
When they brought her back, I said that she was not gonna last long.
I mean,
that was
honestly, a lot of us said that, but you had a couple people out there, saying giving hope and saying no, give her a chance. This and that. I was like,
that was a sinking ship.
And I'm
really?
like no disrespect, and I say this respectfully. We seen how she performed in the ring beforehand.
Pointless.
Ain't no way that it was gonna greatly improve
from her going away and being a swimsuit model again.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that topic alone. It's what it is. Like I'm not for people losing their job or anything like that, but I mean we kind of saw this.
I'm not for her losing the job, but I wasn't for her getting the job either. Let's just say.
There you go. Yeah.
She was even worse when she came back. She was worse in the ring.
Yeah, I was like, why? She could have been a valet or something. I thought she was gonna be brought in like for a business standpoint, or just somebody, the manager, but it's just like they tried to put her in the ring. I was like,
ladies, that's sad too. They killed
it. They killed her character when she lost the Dewdrop for the second time. After that, they and then weeks later she was released. So they dropped her fast.
They released Lana to hire Eva Marie.
Yeah, right. And that went nowhere.
Stupid.
It is what it is. Another one that caught me off guard. B-Fab.
Okay. So here's my thing on B-Fab. I feel it was too early to release her, clearly.
Way too early.
Very, especially with the whole hit roll thing, was definitely getting a rise. She was green. She was very green in the ring. Definitely needed way more, in-ring time, definitely. So I can kind of see from that aspect, but no, overall, it was just way too early. She really did not have a chance to shine the way that she could have.
Go ahead, Harv.
I mean, that one didn't really, I didn't really care.
It moved the needle
I
for
care
you.
more about Lince Dorado
Grand Elite.
and Grand Metal Elite. They never really got a chance to fly either, and they were really, really good luchadors.
Right.
They really capitalized on the influx of luchadors that they got when they did the cruiserweight division. Like, that's why I said it was pointless to have an entire division, an entire show dedicated to something that they knew they weren't going to be able to sustain. They haven't done anything with that entire category of wrestlers in years, really. It's almost as bad as the women's tag team title picture. Like, y'all, it's pointless. Y'all bought up all these territories. They literally bought up territories. They put Britain out of business. The whole Britain indie wrestling scene was gone when WWE was done. And now they ain't did nothing with them in years. Now you cutting them loose.
You know, a 205 has gotten bad when they got people like Odyssey Jones on 205, and now they're calling it 405.
That man is 203 pounds. We see him sit on the scale, man. He just big bone, bro.
That's a large bone, man.
That's a large bone.
Ridiculous. Right.
405 Live, man.
Yeah, but B-Fab though, like I said, it way too soon for the be released. And it's the fact, like, you didn't even have to have her wrestle. Like, you could just had to have her just as the manager, valet, whatever.
They don't know what to do with that position no more, and they haven't really since the Attitude Era. They have not had any thriving managers or valets. We can go back to NXT. People have them in NXT and then move up. And then what happens? The valets actually enhance characters the same way that factions enhance characters. They make it easier to protect characters. They make it easy. Like, it enhances the character completely. They just don't know what to do with it. They want to solo stars or maybe one tag team, and then they put two solo stars together. It's all about who individually can make the most money for WWE's product. That's what it boils down to.
It really, like I said, it really caught me off guard. Didn't make sense on why I did that, why it happened, because, like, especially if she's the main person of their entrance song too. So it's like, why'd you do this to them? Like, what sense does this even make? Like, I don't know. It is what it is. It's messed up, but yeah. But another thing about it, no, I ain't trying to burn no. It's a loud plane. But anyway, I'm in my microphone like,
dude.
Yeah, but like I said, the whole faction, I can. Bro, are they practicing flying lessons? No, like it's I'm sorry, y'all. It's like a loud plane outside right now. I don't think it's like a regular plane. It's like one of them biplanes, whatever, stuff like that. But like, what would make sense right now with how they have, Hit Row, it would make sense to have, obviously, you can see like Top Dollar and Shanti Adonis be like a tag team, and Swerve be like the independent star. Don't mess them up, please. They're a real good group of black men in your business and company that can thrive and be successful and be well. And especially, my favorite one's Top Dollar. He's definitely the star out the three, in my opinion.
Yeah,
opinion. Yeah.
Charisma. Yeah.
Exactly. Charisma, size, power, like everything. Mic skills, like I like it all. So yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, one more part, I think, Ember Moon.
Not very surprised because they never capitalized on Ember Moon. She got injured at a really tender moment for her push, but never really battled back from that.
Right.
They didn't know what to do with her after winning the NXT championship, because I personally don't believe they knew what to do with her when she got drafted to the main roster, because her entire main roster career was just a roller coaster. And so even going back to NXT, you would think, okay, well, we're kind of starting over, but they threw her with Shotzi and won the tag team titles, and that was like, there was never a long-term goal for her to begin with. So that, unfortunately, it wasn't a surprise to me.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate, like how she was mishandled throughout the whole thing. I'm not. Did she have like an injury that like set her back possibly? I think. Yeah, that's another thing that did too. Because I'm like, to me personally, like it was like she was like a real solid person within the business and everything. So it really just caught me off guard, like how they just forgot or just didn't utilize her, after the injury, and just okay, she got moved out NXT. Like after that, it's just like okay, she's there, and she's losing, and then she won again. Been on tag team and got pushed back out again. So it's weird. Like basically forgot where she actually came from, and then want to utilize her in that setting again. So it's all weird. It just all threw me off, threw for a loop. But it is what it is. But at the end of the day, with all these releases that did happen, we never like to see people get released from the job. Like losing your job is like obviously one of the worst things ever, pretty much. But like all these people that did get released, they are all great superstars, and definitely not going to see the last of them. I know for a fact we're going to see them in the future somewhere, whether it's in another business or company or whatever they want to do in their future. If they want to step outside the wrestling business, like I could see it too as well with a couple people. But like we wish and hope for the best for all of them, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, Survivor Series is around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, it's kind of a little bit too early to do predictions and everything. All the matches haven't been set in stone, the match card just yet from the day that we're recording. Also, as well, even have the Survivor Series teams aren't even complete yet. So we got time. But we have another thing we could do on WB Fox's Instagram. They made a couple of fantasy team predictions for Survivor Series matches. So I'm gonna ask y'all this question, and I'm gonna see what y'all think. So, who would win in a Survivor Series match? This is Team A. Listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena.
Yep.
Seth Rollins.
Okay.
Brock Lesnar.
Mm.
And Big E.
Okay.
That's Team A. This is Team B. The Rock. Randy Orton. Roman Reigns. Bobby Lashley. Drew McIntyre.
Cena wins, LOL.
He say LOL at the end.
Cena solos.
So between Team A and Team B, who think wins and why?
Team A, clearly, because they got Stone Cold, Cena wins, and got Lesnar.
Cena wins?
LOL.
Those three alone will dominate because they dominated the majority of the career. On the other side, you got Rock and Reigns. They most of their career. I'm sorry, Rock and Randy, most of their career.
Thank you.
Yeah. Reigns, I mean, like he's still, even though he's been around for a minute, it's still kind of.
It's the best run of Reigns' career right now.
Right now, right. And then Lashley and Drew, like the last few years, they just started getting something. So overall, Stone Cold, Cena wins, and Lesnar is going to be the reason why.
I'm going with Team A too, because first of all, Big E has beaten both McIntyre and Lashley already. So the last member of the team beat the last two members of the other team already. Lesnar is Lesnar. Seth Rollins he has his moments where he could pull off an upset win. John Cena is John Cena. He's the greatest of all times, 16-time champion. So it is what it is. And Stone Cold, he always had the Rock number throughout his whole career. You want to be honest. So yeah, I'll go with Team A as well.
Easy.
And they did another one on their Instagram too as well.
Okay, I'm ready.
Question. You probably need to write this one down, something like that. It says, pick 4 to tag with you at Survivor Series, and the rest will fight you.
Okay.
So there's 9 wrestlers on this list.
Okay.
You can only pick 4 of them.
Okay.
And the others you do not pick. That's who you wrestle against.
Okay.
All right. So are you ready?
Ready.
All right. The Undertaker.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
The Rock.
Okay.
Stone Cold.
Uh-huh.
Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Randy Orton,
Okay.
John Cena,
Okay.
Batista,
Okay.
and Harv's favorite, Goldberg.
Oh God. Okay. Oh, this should be easy.
And I'll say this: we're gonna say all of them in their prime.
Oh, easy.
Michaels, Cena, and it was somebody before Cena.
Orton.
Nope.
Lesnar.
Yep. Not my fault.
Who's your 4?
Lesnar, Cena, Michaels, and Undertaker.
My 4 was Cena, Lesnar, Stone Cold, and Undertaker.
All right, my 4: Randy Orton,
Of course.
Of course.
John Cena.
Of course.
Damn, it's hard after this one for real.
Cena
Okay.
or
Orton and John Cena. That's automatic 2 for me right there.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Lesnar, because he defeated Undertaker in the streak. So I'm getting Brock Lesnar.
Okay, all right.
And I'm gonna get Goldberg.
You lost.
In his prime? In Goldberg's prime. In Goldberg's prime.
Just like
In
that.
his prime, he did 2, 3. Man,
He got whooped on, and then he did the spear, and then he did the jackhammer.
But he won though, right?
Boy,
he
one
won though, right? But he won.
One stunner would change that completely.
Like I said, once you get hit with one spear, all it takes is one. Finito. That's it.
Now he could even be Undertaker.
And if we was talking primes, he would.
I got Lesnar that could. Oh, wait, I ain't got Lesnar on my team.
He wouldn't be.
I got Lesnar on my team.
No, you said Cena, Orton, Lesnar, and Goldberg. So
yes, Lesnar could take out Undertaker easily.
Not in prime, no sir.
Lesnar could take out Stone Cold. I could take out Shawn Michaels. I ain't worried about that. I'll fight him myself.
Get your ass.
And you got John Cena.
You ain't got nothing coming for Shawn
I'll
Michaels.
take out Batista. Like, man, this, my team cold. I don't care what y'all talking about.
You crazy.
So you saying Goldberg? You say you just saying Goldberg?
You talking prime Goldberg?
Goldberg was cold in his prime.
That category in their prime.
So Goldberg won cold in his prime.
Goldberg is probably
how long did he hold that? How long did he hold that title when he was in his prime?
Goldberg at his prime is probably the weakest of everybody that you named in their prime. Goldberg in his prime is the weakest on that list.
Not worse than Batista.
He's probably the only one that I would give you.
There you go. Then he's not the worst.
But nobody picked.
He ain't the worst though.
You didn't pick Batista. J-Bo didn't pick Batista. Ain't nobody think about Batista. Nobody else on there he can beat in their prime. Maybe Shawn Michaels because of the character Shawn Michaels played in his prime. But other than that, who else he gonna top? Nobody.
That's 2 people that already get knocked out easily. Shoot. And then we got 3 left. Undertaker, Stone Cold, and The Rock.
Liability.
Right.
Everybody can beat Goldberg. He's a liability.
Okay, Stone Cold liability too.
Worst choice.
He got bad knees and a bad neck.
I didn't pick Stone Cold. I know you're a liability.
Oh, okay.
But not prime, he wouldn't. He ain't had no bad knees and bad back. We talking about prime.
I mean, when I think about Stone Cold prime, I think about the knee brace. I thought that was prime Stone Cold. If I don't see no knee brace on Stone Cold, I don't think he was the prime yet. I think about the Stone Cold with their hair.
them 2 knee braces, Twilight. That's Twilight of the career with the knee braces.
I don't think it's Stone Cold if he ain't got no knee braces on. I don't think that's the real one then.
Hollywood Blonde Stone Cold.
Right. Cool. And yeah, that is all I got for that. That's all the time I got. And yeah, AEW Full Gear comes on tonight, but we're gonna do predictions later. We're just gonna write it down, do that, and we're gonna put that out tonight. So with that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for choosing. Thank y'all for watching us for episode 39 of KTR. Hashtag KTR. We are KTR, Know the Ropes Podcast. And to find us and to listen to us, just gotta do this one thing. Social media, KTR_podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Know the Ropes Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Know the Ropes Podcast, all podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. We are on everything. And don't forget to get your merch at prowrestlingtees.com/ KTR podcast. This is episode 39, KTR, hashtag KTR, and we are out.
What should they do, Big Harv?
One time for Eddie Guerrero. It's the 16th anniversary of the man. Latino heat in the building. You know what I mean? We're going to pump those numbers one time for Eddie.
Viva la raza!
Hey, Latino heat.
Yeah. Numbers, letters, all symbols of man-made devices that could cripple us all. Improve we can K. Panicking when storm hits and knocks out the power grid. Are you fully prepared to live off the grid? How you think?